they say all men are created equal.
Shot! Master!
I'll pull out the Glock.
Full of suffering, succotash, son.
It's one of your nuts hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hello and welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast. I have never in my life ran so fast to grab the camera and the microphone to begin. Oh my god. So I did not watch this live. Last night was watching, I went to a concert, I went to go see Barry Tomorrow, which was fucking amazing. I was in Manchester and I've travelled back home. As soon as I got off the train, loaded the pay-per-view, watched, I think it was like 5 hours all in, because I ended up watching the pay-per-view, of course. I mean, not the pay-per-view, of course I watched the freaking pay-per-view, the pre-show. Because y'all know I love me some Costco guys. Y'all know I am a brain rot child of the internet. But I've literally just finished it. And we are going to go through this chronologically, as we always do, in a linear fashion. But, oh my god, like, this is just proper fresh reactions. But yeah, I'm kind of in like from last night and then watching the rest, I'm kind of in like a dopamine like overload and also a caffeine overload, which is a great combination. Wow, also that was a lot of wrestling. I don't know why, but it just felt like so much. I think it's because everything, like every match, every part of it was fantastic, but it was also a lot. It was like, oh, here's another banger, and I feel like when you watch it live as well, like maybe it's like the delirium of like, because in the UK, the pre-show's at 12 and then the main show's 1 a.m. and then it usually ends at 5 a.m. It was a 4-hour show, I think, the actual main show. So yeah, you just finished at like 5 a.m. So like the delirium of that, like it just kind of carries you through. But I'm not complaining. I'm not like, oh my god, there was so much wrestling for a wrestling show. Like, no, genuinely, I wouldn't have changed. Well, maybe like one thing, but we'll get to it. I wouldn't have changed anything. And I certainly wouldn't have changed the match lengths, and I certainly wouldn't have taken anything off the card because I think everything fucking earned its spot. Everyone just pulled their weight massively. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, but it was fantastic, and I'm still kind of debating the rating because it's quite high in my head. So hopefully, as we talk through it, that'll solidify whether I'm willing to give it that. But oh my gosh, yeah. So we're gonna have to hold our horses and begin with the pre-show because there's just so much that I want to talk about. Like, even though the main event, there's so much to dissect with the fallout and the way it ended. We're gonna begin linearly because that's how we do it here. So the pre-show. Normally, I do not watch the pre-show if I don't watch it live, because I only really watch it like when I'm watching it live because it's just something to fucking do in it. But yeah, I was like, well, I want to watch. I need to watch the Rizzler. I need to watch Big Urge. Come on. But then I saw the other matches, so I did watch those as well because I was intrigued. So the first match was Deonna Purrazzo versus Anna Jay, which is really cool. Deonna Purrazzo, she's now part of the Vendetta with Taya Valkyrie, which is great because both of them haven't really had much to do. The Johnny and Taya thing didn't really take off, which is a shame because both Johnny and Taya. So I'm trying to remember if he's even called Johnny in fucking AEW. He's got so many bloody names: Johnny TV, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Morrison. But yeah, like that hasn't really taken off. But it's great because I do love both women. I think they're an absolute gem in the ring. So I'm glad that they're having something to do. And look at what it did for Sky Blue and Julia Hart. Like them being paired together, it really like, especially for Sky Blue, I think really helped her like take off. So versus Anna Jay, who has been on a little excursion. She's got a bit of hype coming back from Stardom. Got a lot of Anna Jay fans. I see a lot of love for her online. So this was set up on Rampage, where they offered, the Vendetta that was offered their services to Anna Jay, who declined. I have no problem with that. I think that makes perfect sense that a Rampage storyline would end up on the pre-show. That's great. That's cool. And commentary were really putting over the improvement of Anna Jay, so it's obvious that they have big plans for, I think, like bigger plans than just a pre-show. I do think that because she's gone away and taken some time away and there's a bit of hype, I think that Tony's willing to like push her, give her a push, which she's never really had before properly. So yeah, but I also wrote I like how Diana isn't a throwaway opponent. It's not just like a squash match. It's not just like some woman. It's not just fucking Serena Deeb. It's it's someone as well who's kind of got their own thing going for him. So I thought that was cool. I thought the wrestling was really entertaining, and to say this was the first match of the night, and as I say, like I'm so excited to talk about the rest of it, but I don't think it should be forgotten because they really, really wrestled like they were wrestling for the title. They were constantly on each other. There was no give up, and I think that's because both of them have so much to prove. Um, so yeah, they met each other there. Taya got evicted, uh, which I liked because it didn't undermine the faction because Anna Jay was the one to pick up the victory. But again, like if Taya was on the side and she lost, then it's like, well, where was interference? And that undermines this new faction that they're trying to build. Well, not faction, but like duo in it. So yeah, Diana had Anna in an armbar, but there was a quick roll up for the victory. And like I say, it was they were very much on each other the whole match. Both of them got a great amount of shine, and it was just Anna Jay was just able to pick up the victory. She was just a bit quicker, because she did that excursion stardom. But yeah, no, that's really really cool stuff. And then we had Buddy Matthews versus Dante. God, it's just like remembering just all the good wrestling that we had last night. My God, we had Buddy Matthews versus Dante, Beast Mortos, and Commander. Now this was more your standard four-way pre-show pay-per-view vibe. It wasn't bad. It was actually really, really good. But this is more what I expect. Whereas like the match before, I was really impressed at for a pre-show, like how much I could see what they were trying to build, and there was intention. It wasn't just a throwaway between two women. It was like there's actual intention there. And I think even for the pre-show, everything should be treated with intention. But again, I have no problem with a match like this, which is just the hype match, the kind of well, you got two luchadors. Well, Dante's got kind of a lucha style as well, but you got that lucha-esque, high flying, high risk match to just hype up the crowd and ease them into the night. So yeah, Buddy cleared the ring instantly for himself and the Mortos. That was pretty fun. But yeah, Commander's walk on the top rope. Uh, that was insane to the dive, which was really like the airtime he got was mad. Like he was just like floating in the air. Mortos rolling tope through the ropes. I wrote it felt like a firework display because you're constantly just like like that's a pretty move. Oh, that's a big explosion. I didn't go to Bonfire Night, but this year, but yeah. Nobody gaining the advantage. It was just move after move after move, but it's fine. For a pre-show, it's fine. It's fun. That's what you want. But the ending was cool. It was the curb stomp on Dante. When he was pinning Mortos via Buddy Matthews, who was able to pick up the win, and that was fucking awesome. Like proper, just drove him into the mat, stole the victory, and yeah, as I've said, like we've talked about before, tearing down um the House of Black to build them up almost like that's the vibe at the minute. So it's cool to see the House of Black getting some wins. I don't know, like just lately I've just been feeling more merciful towards the House of Black. Like they don't piss me off as much as they used to do. I actually kind of like them, kind of, kind of. Then oh my God, I need a drink. One sec. Then the match we've all been waiting for. I need to stop talking so fast. I'm just like, oh my God, like what have I just seen? Then we had the Costco guys, Big Boo Midget versus QT Marshall, and this just popped me so hard. Like fucking Justin Roberts coming out, doing the announcement, the video package before, which they put on social media is hilarious. And then we had Paul White coming out on commentary, and he accompanied the Rizzler with his entrance. Obviously, got a massive pop. He's massively over, brother. I just wrote things I didn't know I needed. Fucking Paul White, Big Show, accompanying the Rizzler. Like, what universe am I living in? Um, yeah, it was so. Oh, it was so cute though. Like the Rizzler when he was coming down and like high fiving everyone. It was so cute. Um, Yeah, and then we had QT with the special Doom theme, and I wrote, "This is so camp, but it's just camp. It's fun, and especially for like how dark the rest of the pay-per-view was. This was like a really. I'm glad I watched the pre-show because it was like a bit of like comedy, a bit of humor, light, fun, like just what you needed really. And this was so fun, like the Rizzler fucking emoting every 2 seconds. The holy shit chant. I just love like a smarky fucking crowd. Like it just yes. Yes, I love it. I love sarcastic chants. The near falls actually popped off. It was a very entertaining match. It was 20 minutes long and it was so simple. Obviously like the move sets and that, but I thought AJ looked pretty good. I thought he looked pretty good. Um to say like he's been out of action for a while, like you still got it, like he did. And like I say, the near falls were entertaining. It was simplistic moves. It wasn't like the last bloody match where we were doing topes and walking the ropes and crazy moves. It wasn't like that, but it was just as like effective. And I think that's like the beauty of wrestling is like there's so many different styles and so many different things. And like we've already discussed like the criticism of this match or like people's faux outrage at this. Like grow up. You know my opinions on this. Grow up and or like don't grow up. Like connect with your inner 8-year-old internet brain rot child. Like I don't know. Um, yeah, he did the standing vertical suplex onto QT. That's pretty impressive. But it was Big Justice interfering, spearing QT, for AJ to be able to do the power boom for the win, and it was just great fun. Like it was just wholesome. I don't know, it was just really wholesome. Like his family at ringside, and I think even if you take away the fact that like their internet sensations or whatever, like the fact that he was an indie wrestler for so long, and that this match came about due to his connections in the indies in New Jersey, and him knowing QT Marshall and him bringing him on, and I don't know, that must be like really fulfilling. Like just obviously he wouldn't have had this opportunity had he not gone viral like with his family, but I don't know. I just think that's nice. I just think that's nice. A man achieving a dream. Like, did he think when he was wrestling in bingo halls, he'd be wrestling in front of, I don't know what the attendance was last night, but it was a full arena. Um, I'm sure that was very, very fulfilling. And for his son, like, not me getting emo. I was so emo last night. There was so many different points where I was like getting emotional, which I'll get to. This was I wasn't actually emotional at this, but I'm just an empath. What can I say? But yeah, that was the pre-show component, which yeah, as far as pre-show goes, I thought it was a lot of fun. If you get a chance, I think any of those matches would be entertaining to catch up on. Like, yeah, why not? But that with that really. So continuing on, oh my God, sorry, I feel like I've calmed down a little bit now. I'll try to be a bit more composed, but yeah. Now we're actually going to get into the actual show, um, which yeah, as I said, like I did find quite long. Like I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not criticizing it for that. I'm just saying I just found it to be a lot of wrestling. I think it's just because there wasn't like any bathroom break match, and that's not a bad thing. Like it's a stupid thing to like criticize, complain there was no time to like chill, but there was no time to chill, and there was so much to like process during this like pay-per-view. Um, Everything was quite consequential for the character work and storyline. So it was like, especially since, when you're going to film a podcast after, you want to be like switched on. And it's so different watching, like the way I watched wrestling before. Like, not to say that I didn't observe things, because I did, and I had to bombard Lucy with voice notes. But like, it's just different. Like, when you're watching it and like, you have to like transfer this to paper to then verbalize. It's like freeway fucking communication. It's like, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the first match was the four-way tag match. Private Party had a special entrance. The others had their entrances towards the end of the pre-show. So they had their private party entrance. They had bottle girls because a bit of casual objectification. AEW think I've forgotten about the women on the beach chairs at fucking what was that? What was that pay-per-view? Was it Fighter Fest? Or was it a different one? Yeah, man, I know you. You're a dirty dog, Tony Khan. You're a dirty fucking dog. Glow sticks and mist. Well, I'm sorry, I was like a shit party. It was like one of them like dirty, grotty clubs in your small town. That's like what that party were giving. But anyway, I do like a four-way because it's the four-way tag that is because it's the forced tag-ins that add to the fun dynamic and the chaos and like accidental tag-ins or whatever. It's very chaotic but very fun. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that. So I just thought that this was going to be a great display of the tag division and putting over, this is party and this is why they're the top dogs and look all these other teams and we're going to build up rivalries slowly because the tag division kind of fell apart for a bit. But it was a bit different what we got. It was interesting, but it was different. So leading on with the House of Black hype train that I'm suddenly on all of a sudden, Malachi and Brody stood out the most to me. Even though towards the end of the match they weren't consequential and they kind of got written out towards the end because the focus was on the Acclaimed, to me they seemed like the most legitimate contenders. I don't know, like I switch up fast on people, but that's just because I'm fluid. Like, I'm never going to be like, I might be like, I hate this person. And sometimes I really think, like, there's no way someone can win me round, i.e., Brian Cage. But I am always open, I feel like, and open to, like, I don't know, people getting over. I genuinely do I want to enjoy what I'm watching. It might not seem like that sometimes because I love to moan, but I think that's just, like, a British thing. But, like, I genuinely want everyone to do well. I want AEW to do well, and I don't want to watch people that I don't like or people that aren't entertaining or whatever. But like with House of Black, like I've always liked them all individually anyway, I think. It just hasn't worked for me, like the presentation. Um I don't know, like other than like the trios titles, like they've never been presented in a way in which I should take them seriously, but then they're so that it just like what? Um, but yeah, like I said, it stood out a lot to me. They were clocked in. Malachi's, Moonsault, Brody King doing his thing. Even Buddy Matthews in the earlier pre-show match, I thought was quite entertaining. But that wasn't the story, so we're going to focus on the story. The story was the Acclaimed and their breakdown of communication that's going on, which thank God, free Anthony Bowens from the grasps of Max Caster. My God, no complaints for me there. But yeah, there was lots of breakdowns of communication in this match. I think it was Bowens. He was going for the Sesame Timbers when Caster intervened. And commentary highlighted that Caster had received the MVP golden card, his business card, and you'd think he at least has to have one person join the Hurt Syndicate through these business cards. Like you would think. Sorry, I'm just turning the page obnoxiously loudly. But you would think at least one person has to join for these business cards to mean anything or be legitimate. And especially given their latest success, the Hurt Syndicate that is later on tonight, I think they need to at least add one person. My bets was on Will Hobbs, but he seems to be quite, he's been given that baby face, return, which I'm not mad at, just as long as they fucking do something with him this time. But yeah, Private Party, the Stereo 450, that were pretty cool, wasn't it? Billy Gunn, Daddy Ass mediating. And then at one point, the Acclaim tried to pin each other, which was just weird. This was Caster's idea because, of course, there's confusion with the legal man. And it was very overt in the tension, whereas before it's been quite subtle and, like, are they on the same page? Like Caster, when he seemed to be considering the business offer from MVP, but Bowens was, like, outraged by it. But in this match, it was very much, like, in your face, like, no, there is a breakdown of communication, and this played into the finish with the blind tag, and the mic drop was interrupted by the Outrunners. So the Outrunners also got their shine in this match, and the gin and juice for the 1, 2, 3. So Pride Pie picking up the win. So yeah, like I say, for me, what are they called? The Knights of the Black Throne. That's goofy though. I'm sorry, that's fucking goofy. House of Black. Like, you're slowly winning me over. But I don't know if I'm ready for that shit yet. But yeah, Knights of the Black Throne. They impressed me for sure a lot, and I would like to see them be the number one contenders. Um, going forward, the Acclaimed. I mean, I do and I don't care because I guess it's good because the Acclaimed, as me and Lucy have said several times, have grown very, very, very stale, with their current act. So I guess something needs to be done. But I guess as much as I'd like Bowens to be wrestle solo, I'm like, to what end does this mean? Because I just is anyone interested in Caster versus Bowens one on one? I don't think so. Like, I just don't think that's a draw. Number two, like, how is Caster going to hold up on his own? Number three, Bowens, if he is um going to wrestle independently and the tag team is going to be split up, where is he going to fall? Because for me, it would be quite low mid card because the top is so stacked and he's been built nowhere near enough to reach those heights. Unless they're going to do something, I don't know, in the Continental Classic and he kind of has a run there. Maybe they have a run in with each other and maybe that's how you do it. So it's not like it's not like a pay-per-view fucking match, you know. I don't particularly know, but I'm just like, to what end? Where are we going with this? And the Outrunners, yeah, I like that they're having that they played a part in the finish and that they weren't just totally forgotten about. But and I'm fine with their role. Like, I know people like put the belts on them now, but it's fine. It's fine. Like, they're just continuing to build a connection with the crowd. Like, there's absolutely no rush, as far as I'm concerned. So long as they're being featured and we're getting to see them wrestle and people are getting used to their shtick and their little moments, their spots, then I think that's great. And then when the time comes, we can move them into a more serious program. Let them cook, lads. So yeah, and how can I forget talking about the people who actually won the match? Private Party, yeah. Like, again, as I say with the Outrunners, continue to let them cook. I think they should have not a long reign, but they don't need to lose it like the first pay per view. That they come back, and it's nice to have a face team in it, like, especially with how a face team that is holding the belt, should I say, when AEW is so heel dominated at the moment. It's nice to have that for sure. So then we had Lexi Nash, who's backstage with Orange, who gave a great promo about his match against Moxley, which would main event the pay-per-view. He talked about how him and Private Party are day ones. Mox doesn't need or didn't need AEW, but Orange Cassidy does. And he will take the power from his briefcase to his backpack. And I just loved that. Like, that really struck with me. I just love the imagery of the briefcase. I love that we don't see the belt and we didn't see the belt later on in the main event. To me, that's so powerful. So powerful. And just the metaphor, but I guess it's like a literal metaphor of taking it from the briefcase to the backpack. Like, I don't know. I just love it. The way that when he had the Intercontinental title and he used to put it in his backpack and get it out, you know, during Jane, when he get to the ring, that was just, it's just great. And it's like, it's, as he said, like, taking the power. It's more than a belt, and we'll get into that later on during that actual match. But yeah, really, really good stuff, I think. Just had to take my fucking Udi off there. Why did I just disappear? Oh my god. That's the thing about winter, right? It's like, you think you're freezing all the time, but you're not. You're either absolutely maffed in or freezing, and it's just like quickly alternating between, I need a million layers onto, oh my god, get this off me right now. I am autistically overstimulated. But anyway, irrelevant to the fucking pay-per-view. And then we got into Mox versus Cole. And Roddy, I forgot this happened, which I think says it all, really. Not that I've forgotten even what the ending was. I was going to say not this was bad. Oh no, it was bad. No, I didn't like this, actually. Yeah, I didn't like this. But yeah, it's really weird because, like, I think, did I write Mox? I said Mox versus Cole, but that's because I wrote down Mox versus Cole. Sorry, common mistake. And comms kept saying MJF throughout the night. I don't know if anyone else picked up on this. They kept, like, anytime anything began with M, they'd be like, an MJF, that's an M, and then they'd catch themselves. So I'm not the only one having slip ups over here, okay? But yeah, sorry, the MJF Cole spiel. But what I was going to say was it's so weird how MJF used to always be the highlight of every pay-per-view and he'd steal the show effortlessly, but ever since they've brought Cole back into the rotation, I think his last good program was with Garcia when they did that. And then with Osprey, sorry, it was Garcia, and then with Osprey after All In. Since then, ever since Cole's come back, it's just not good, is it? And it's just, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse because we beat this horse so many times. Which, what a weird saying, beat a dead horse. Where does that come from? Also, another saying I was thinking about was tit for tat, because there was many matches that were tit for tat, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, where does that come from? Tit for tat. Beating a dead horse. Right, anyway. Sorry. I'm procrastinating talking about this. I feel like I do that a lot when, like, I just can't be asked talking about something. I just start, like, talking about something else because I just don't want to talk about it. But anyway, let's get into it. So this was MJF versus Roddy. We had the video package, which, even though it had been edited to try to create a conclusive narrative, it was still very much confusing. And yeah, I'm very upset as well that Roddy continues to come out to Kingdom, the devil rises. Like, give the man end of heartache. Like, let my man come out to a bit of kill switch. You know what I'm saying? Fucking brilliant song. And also, fucking brilliant finisher or signature. And that's another thing that I was thinking about during this pay-per-view is, even though I've been a wrestling fan for decades now, because I'm old like that, it's like, I've never understood what the difference between a finisher and a signature is. Like, I guess it kind of makes sense in my head. Like, a signature's some you sometimes use, and it's like part of your key arsenal, but your finish is like one and done. But then that don't make much sense because a lot of people use 5 finishes per match now because the way modern wrestling is. Sorry, turn into cornet over here. Not that I disagree with that. And also, unless you fucking Chris Jericho and you've got Judas effect, and it's the most protected move in the whole industry. But yeah, it just doesn't make much sense to me. It's kind of like outdated, I guess, because like wrestling's changed. But oh my god, talk about the fucking match. So MJF cuts a promo. White trash pause. He's in his Hollywood era. He's shooting movies, and Roddy's mum's shooting his dad, which fired Roddy up. As you can imagine, he ran into the ring post. Yeah, so it fired Roddy up, and then he was ran into the ring post, and that was kind of worked over his arm, but also his fingers, which were forced into the turnbuckle wire, I believe, to disable his strikes, because when he came in and he was fired up from said promo, he was striking MJF quite hard. So this match was a case of Max wrestling smarter rather than harder, which he's always kind of done. But yeah, that was the emphasis on this match. So, and he was also unable to lock in certain moves, like the cloverleaf submission, because of the lack of movement in his fingers. And as I said, the end of Heart It when he pulled it out, God, it's a fucking brilliant move, that. So yeah, after the pinfall attempt by Roddy to Max, Max was able to get Max in an armbreaker. He was kind of retching and manipulating the fingers at the same time, which helped him pick up the victory. Then he broke his forearm in a steel chair, which brought Adam Cole out and Bennett and Taven, which me and Lucy discussed this, and even though we did that thing where, like, you know, you fantasy book something and then it isn't what you want it to be, and I don't want to be that fan that's like, well, it wasn't how I wanted it to be booked. But also, it wasn't how I wanted it to be booked, and it was uninspired and it was boring. And even like, yeah, I guess like the only saving grace of this was Kyle O'Reilly coming out and saying Cole was too late, and so I guess a Kyle and Adam Cole gonna beef, and then Adam Cole's gonna decimate Kyle O'Reilly, and then he's gonna go off the deep end. But I feel like this feeling that I have of Adam Cole um going off the deep end and becoming heel, I feel like what is actually the narrative they're actually going to do is Adam Cole has a realization that actually like he's not like MJF because he can't hurt his friends and me friendship, and MJF's a bastard, and it's just like it's so boring. Like we've been there, we've done it, and just yeah, it's hard to get into something like even if Kyle and Cole kind of do something like that because I think it's trust. I think trust is easily broken in wrestling. And I think for a long while, like, I kind of trusted Max and his handling of his character, and that's not entirely on him. Like, I don't know. I know this situation's been kind of forced by circumstances, but I think with Max, he's one of those wrestlers that I can trust, and I'm like, oh, like, you're going to take me down this direction. And Max always kind of gave us what we wanted rather than sorry, he gave us what we needed rather than what we wanted, and oftentimes that was greater than anything that we could have thought of. Because he was always one step ahead. But with this, and it's not just so much Max, but Cole and this whole subsection of the AEW verse right now, it's like I just don't trust any of it, so it's hard for me to get invested. Like with the main event stuff, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of transpiring and not everything's clear cut, but I trust them. So because of that, I can get invested. But if I don't trust you to take me somewhere interesting, then, you know, we need to hit story points A, B, C, D. And yeah, maybe D might be satisfying, but A, B, C were not. So and if those parts aren't, how am I supposed to accept that D, our resting point, is going to be a great finish? I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I didn't realize just how much this pissed me off actually till like I'm talking about it because there's like this and one other thing which didn't actually piss me off. I just thought, well, I wouldn't have done it like that, which we'll get to. But other than that, like I think everything else like was fantastic. So yeah, because originally I know I said at the start like I was debating a rating which was 10 out of 10, but now I'm like talking about it, I'm like, oh, I don't know. But also, I'm a sucker for if the main event slaps. And why the fuck am I mauling myself? If the main event slaps, like, I've got amnesia. I'm like, but the main event. And it's like, if the main event sucks, that ruins everything. Like, last year's Full Gear, which is my Roman Empire and the greatest trauma of my life, insert that TikTok sound where it's like the bullshit in Vietnam, it all stacked up. That's me when I think about fucking Full Gear 2023 and Jay White. Thank God we were in a different position this year. Right, anyway, focus. But we've done it. No, we don't need to focus. We don't need to talk about that anymore. But yeah, my point being, like, that's very much a deciding factor as to how much I'm going to enjoy things. Because I think always, like, the main event, it has so much more weight on a pay per view. Like, your overall enjoyment, because it's the whole reason, like, you're there. It's like, for instance, kind of unrelated, but Download Festival next year, the lineup fucking sucked. And that's because the headliners fucking suck. And if the headliners suck, it's like I just can't get excited. And maybe that's just the type of person I am. Some people could do. Some people could go to that festival and enjoy all the undercard, which I could too. But if I'm not excited for the headliner, I'm like, I don't know. It just really crushes me. And it's like that with wrestling. And there's probably another analogy that I can use. And it's kind of annoying being that person actually, because it's like just enjoy everything else. Like if you enjoy 90% of something, why can't you like, rate it high or enjoy it? But I don't know, I'm like, this is the reason we're here. This is the reason we're here. This is like who's on the posters. This is who's on the VIP chairs. This is who's on the little beakers in the stadium. Like, you know. But yeah, I don't know. That's just me dissecting myself as a fan of media, I suppose. But anyway, now we're gonna move on to my favorite match of the night, barring the main event. But the main event wasn't a really wrestling match. It was a lot. It was something. But I don't know if I call it wrestling. And that's not a criticism. It's an observation. We're bringing that one back. We're bringing that old catchphrase back. But this honestly will be in my top three of the year. This match blew me away. And like I could see on Reddit, because also I managed to avoid all major spoilers, which go me. Because usually whenever I don't watch it live, I always spoil shit because I'm always doom scrolling. When I'm at work, like the day after, or in this case when I was commuting back, um, sat on the floor of the train, which is standard in the UK, pay fucking fortune, and you just fucking sat on the floor. Yeah. But in this case I didn't. But what I did see, everything's linking. So you think it's not linking, you think I'm just fucking going off on tangent, but I'm not, because it all links. But in this case, I do like to go on Reddit, right, and scroll really quickly. And I kept seeing people with the spoiler tag, and they were like, "What did you think of this match?" And I could see like the titles, and I was like, "Well, something must have happened in this match." And now I can see why people were talking about. I couldn't see what people were saying, but people were certainly talking about it on a lot of different subreddits, and making a lot of different posts. So yeah, so this had no Camille. She was in the back. She's been taken out after Start's repeated offense. And yeah, this was so enjoyable. This was, for me, my favorite match that Monet's had. Her best work. Her best work since being in AEW. And I think, it's like, if they were thinking about breaking up her and Camille, and at first I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. But then after this match, I'm like, I think I'm ready for that, because she, like, taking that little dynamic out of someone interfering on the side and my crony, like, she don't need it. She don't need it. She don't need it. She's got enough aura, in and of herself. But this was just absolutely. And as well, like, I was like, this is going to be shit, because if Statlander loses, that's going to undermine all the OP booking. But if Stat wins, like, then she's, like, going over Monet, who they've built up for ages, and it's just random and meh, meh, meh. But then I was like, to Lucy, I was like, but the match might be good. And she was like, yeah, the match is going to be good at Stat, like, don't worry. And she was like, yeah, they'll win it. It'll be good and it'll be all right. And you know what? It was better than all right. It was fucking amazing. Like I said, in my top three matches of this year for sure. I'm still need to evaluate that, because, and also we're getting close to that. And we've talked about if we want to do like a Christmas special and talk about all the dynamites and have like random like award categories and some other crazy shit that we want to do as well. That'll be very, very, very funny. But yeah, I'm realizing like now, oh, like I actually do need to get that in order. But this will definitely be up there. So this was such a cool dynamic, because Stat is very OP in and of her power, and because of the size difference against Monet's a great seller, that came across. But then Monet's very agile, and her athletic ability and her quickness and her speed and she wrestles very intelligently. So this was a great matchup. And I just loved Mercedes' offense. I thought it was really cool. And I said, just the best she's looked in AEW. I'm not the biggest Mercedes, but I've always kind of gone back and forward on her. Like, even way back when, for me, like, she's always just kind of been like a little bit overrated, and I've never gotten the hype, but I've not like hated her, if that makes sense. But I've just not connected with her in the way that other people have. Like, I think that's the basis of like a lot of things for me, is emotional connection. Like, do I have a connection? And like, once I found that connection, I'm a loyal dog, man. Like, the most random people as well, like Penelope before we talked about this in the podcast. I'm like, I've bonded with you now. Like, our Sims friendship bar is on full. But like, if I don't do that quite early on, then it's just a bit more difficult to win me round. But yeah, as I say, this was the best she's looked, and who would have thought that? Not that Stat's a bad, I'm a huge Stat fan. Again, another person that I connected with weirdly early on. She's a day oneer in AEW, and I just was like, you, I like you, you're cool, you. But yeah, I just wouldn't have Monet versus Statlander. Like, yeah, if you told me like yeah, it's going to be a good match, but I wouldn't have put this to pen to paper and thought this is going to produce what it did produce, and that's like no dunk on either of the women. But yeah, there was a growing frustration as well at Stats kickouts as Monet is laying in this almost like unorthodox offense, and she doesn't have like Camille. She doesn't have that backup, that safety net. She has to take out Stat by herself, and also she does have that disadvantage of size and strength. And we really got to see like Mercedes sweat during this, which we haven't really seen that much. Like she's quite confident, and as I say, when you've got that safety net, you've got that safeguard of having someone on the outside. Of course, you're gonna be like that. You can always use interference or weapon or whatever it may be because you're a heel and you don't really give a shit. But in this, there was no opportunity to do this. She had to. A heel had to actually wrestle to win and win on merit, which was cool because like we don't really see that, especially in AEW. Like it's very much, which of course you would do if you were a heel. You would rely on your manager or your faction or, like I say, weapons, titles, whatever. Of course you're going to use everything in your arsenal. But it was just cool to see a heel backed into a corner and having to wrestle and be the better wrestler. It's cool. And then we had the viciousness of Stats offense because I say just the size and her power and how great that looked. And you know, to every compliment to Monet for selling that so well. And I wrote they're both equally matched but so different, and that's what made this match so freaking tasty. I loved the kip up of starting to the Meteora. That was really cool. The near fall when Monet was caught mid frog splash, her little homage to Eddie Guerrero. I genuinely thought Star had it. Like there was so many times where, you know, I thought like it's over and it wasn't over. And this match as well was given so much time, which again I thought every match was given a lot of time, and but I wouldn't have changed it if that makes sense. Like I wouldn't have changed it, but yeah, yeah, really good. Stat missing the 450 and the elbow to her knees, which was targeted heavily. The frog splash on the knees, a kick out again. But after this, there was no tantrum. As I said, there was this growing frustration at the near falls, but she didn't this time because she knew. And that was fun, like guessing the thought process, like the ring psychology of, well, why isn't she? And I kind of read it as like, this whole time she's sweating and that's why she's frustrated, but this time she's not because she knows what she's going to zero in on and she knows she can beat her now. She's seen that weakness. It was so evil. It was like, I've got you, bitch. Fucking love it. Fucking love it. The two backstabbers, the kick out, my jaw was on the floor and I felt really emotional. This was the first part of the night where I just started feeling really like emotional to like Statlander's plight. Because like I guess I knew at this point, like deep down, she's not gonna win. But I just can't explain it. Like the tensions between a lot of these matches, the emotions, it was like a bit of string and it was pulled really tight. And it was like if you touched it, it was like, but there wasn't a lot of flexibility. Like the emotions and everything was so palpable. It was so tight. Like everything was so, you get me. You get me. And it was so hard to like watch her have her injured knee be pulled apart and her continuing to fight. And I don't know, it just really got to me, and her being like a day one and one of my girls. The roll ups, the reversal, the desperation. Then we had the biting of the knees. Statlander was then drove into the ropes. She kind of bounced back, and there was this great pin, which I'm trying to remember how it was, but she sort of, I think it was like, I don't know the name, but she had like her legs hooked underneath her arms, but then she also was sat on both of her shoulders. So she was completely pinned down because, like I said, the size disadvantage, and I think maybe it was Nigel. It was in a different match, but he was talking about getting a pin and how difficult it is if your opponent's bigger than you because you either have to pick going over the shoulders or getting one leg up. But this was great because she had her completely ensnared and also caught off guard from one target in the knees, then catching her off guard from bouncing off the rope to disorientated her to the pin. It was chef's kiss. It was amazing after this war that these two women had fought, and oh, it was just so good. It was so good, and again, like, it was a victory well earned, and it wasn't like, oh well, they've undermined stat, because I was like, those women went to hell and back, Heather's style together. Okay, no complaints, absolutely no complaints, no notes, except there was notes because I wrote them down to talk about it. But oh, dude, and just the finish of like that image of Monet, she was on the floor kind of clinging the title, and then she kind of went into a sort of grandiose, you know, like bravado-esque character. I won, I'm the best. Like, you weren't sweating, bitch, 15 minutes ago. And Stat just incapacitated, having to walk out. And she looked amazing. Monet looked amazing. And more of this, Monet, please. Like, yes, like, you got some of your investment back last night, Tony Khan. You really did. Worth every penny just for that match. And I hope Stat goes on to do some more stuff as well. And like I say, I wouldn't be mad if we get rid of Camille, because if this is the version that we're going to get, I'd rather get this. But I understand, like, as a heel, you want that frustration of, like, they're not giving you what you want. But I also want to see great wrestling. Something like Fletcher, you know. He wrestles a very heel style, but I'm getting that satisfaction of good wrestling, which I wasn't getting. And I'm not putting it entirely on Monet. Like, maybe it was just bad compatibility. I'm not going to say bad opponents, because I know y'all love to fucking dunk on Britt Baker, but I think it's compatibility and being with, and sometimes ring chemistry, it's so unpredictable in it. It's like, you think two people are going to be great together, and there's been so many dream matches with so many different people, and then it comes about and you're like, oh, but then something else is like actually amazing. So yeah, my match of the night for sure. So then continuing on, we had JY versus Hangman. The video package of this really put over the fact that this is, it's about a lot of things, but the significance of the win-loss record, and how Jay White's got Hangman's number essentially. And even I was like, there's no way Jay White's gonna go over again when he went over him Wrestle Dream. And so many times in the past, like, they have to even it out. And as much as I hate 50-50 booking, I was like, you know, they're gonna give this one to Hangman. I was wrong. And you know what? I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that, because I love both, but like, I just love Jay White just like a hair more, like a speck more. So, but yeah, this was also a great a mirror of Wrestle Dream, in that Hangman was straight on the ankle of Jay White and working that over, whereas Wrestle Dream, Jay White was on the knee of Hangman, which Excalibur pointed out. Also random, but why does Jay White foam at the mouth during every match? He's like a rabid dog. Like, he's just always like spit. He's just like, it's just coming out. I don't know what that sound effect was. Just like coming out of his mouth, man. Bit grim to be honest, but kind of sexy, kind of grim. Yeah. So we got the half and half suplex on the ring. Whoa! Why am I turning to fucking Jimmy from South Park? Half and half suplex. Right, don't do that. Right, half and half suplex on the ring apron. And I wrote about this because the impact on Hangman's head, Jesus, that looked brutal. And then the other one that was done on the outside of the ring, just on the mats. Really nasty stuff. Don't like that. I don't like that at all. I do, but also concerning. He tried to do the knee break on the ramp, but his leg gave out. And I love how the men I love how the men are just limpingly beating each other. It feels like a dirty bar brawl. Like many matches during this pay-per-view didn't feel like wrestling. They just felt like, I don't know, like the main event girl. But this, it just felt like two, yeah, like a bar brawl, like two people who like fucked up, but they're just so aggressive and so pent up. I feel like I need Mr. Brightside playing over the top of this match. Now I'm getting a drink. I just got in a cup. Da 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 da. I'm Mr. Brightside. That'd be a great edit. That'd be a great edit for TikTok. Welcome to the mind of Estelle. Yeah. And we had Hangman twisting Jay's ankle after shattering it in the barricade, which I just think that move is so goofy. Like, I've done that spot before. Like, bro, just move your foot. And it's like Lou said, what if like someone in audience just moved it? It's a bit awkward, in it, but yeah, it was all about that ankle, twisting the ankle twister, whatever it's called, the ankle lock, should I say? Um, he wasn't bothered about winning, it seemed, because he was continuing to twist his ankle, but Jay White was like trying to make his way to the ring to beat the 10 count just for Hangman to roll in anyway. So it was like a scheme all along. They made the ankle lock to the Blade Runner after a bunch of frantic counters and reverse wrestling. That was pretty fucking cool. And that's how it wrapped up. He just got him. He just got him. And again, it's Hangman's over focusing on injuring and over concentration and like zoning in on one thing, like autistic, like zoning in on one thing. Like I can say that because I'm autistic, but like you know what I mean. It's like I don't know. He's just like he's so hyper fixated on something like the ankle, and I must hurt this person, and then Jay White was able to reverse that to the Blade Runner, and he was taunting him, being like 5-0 loser, and that just exacerbated him. So he follows Jay White up the ramp, strikes him down. Christopher Daniels comes out, and they've got history. Chris Daniels got a long history with the Elite. And he's trying to intervene, but he just receives a right hand, a very swift right hand, and falls to the floor. Um, so yeah, and comments were like, he's gonna have to pay a big fine. Brah, he don't care. He don't give a fuck. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, definitely, and I liked all the parallels. And this didn't end here. Let's put it that way. This did not end here. If you watched the full pay-per-view, you know what I'm talking about. But good stuff, really good stuff. And like I said, it's totally unexpected. Like I didn't expect Jay White to pick up the victory at all. But I liked it. Next up, Fletcher versus Osprey. So I mean, it was just like endless. At this point, it was just like I can't breathe. I need a snack. I need a wee. I need a drink. I could pause it so I did do these things, but I still was just like, it was literally like a dopamine overload. Like my brain could not handle all the happy chemicals that are being produced in my brain from watching my favorite wrestling show, favorite wrestling company do like with all my faves wrestling on it in an amazing pay-per-view. Like I can't deal with it. But I'm not complaining, if you get what I mean. So this, right, I'm going to nerd out over the presentation because that's like my thing. I love production, I love presentation. I'm like some nerdy, well, I feel like I'm like a mix between like GCSE media and like A-level English lit. That's sometimes how I feel like I am when I'm talking about wrestling, which kind of icks me out, but at the same time, like, I just can't help myself. And then also, I was cracking myself up because the presentation's to do with outfits, and I was thinking, like, do you think like they talk about it like, oh, I'm gonna dress like a king, I'm gonna dress like an assassin. Oh, girl, like, what are you wearing? I'm wearing this. Oh, that's so cool. It's gonna like it's gonna match with our wrestling story. Like, do you think they do that? Do they like DM each other? Like they're like hitting each other up in the DMs about this shit? I don't know, but yeah, I loved this. I loved Osprey was in a total different presentation. Even for the entrance, you didn't get to see his face. And at first, I thought, like, is this like Fletcher coming out to mock Osprey, almost like a feign for entrance? Is that what we're getting? But it wasn't. It was him, and he was in a Punisher inspired attire. But he looked the most assassin-esque that he ever had, I think, while at AEW, which was uh, thematically like the foil to Fletcher, who came out in just literally dripping in gold, white, regal colours. He's got the crown, but as Comms point out, he hasn't even earned the crown yet. Um, Fantastic. And as a nerd, as a history nerd as well, like that, this was really doing it for me. It was, no one will get this. Maybe like one person, but it was kind of giving Edward the Fourth versus Warwick the Kingmaker, and no one will understand that. At least it you might, but it were kind of giving that. It were really doing it for me. It were like the protege versus the mentor. Like, who knows better? We need a killer king to make a king. Like, oh, the media, the English lit, and and then you're hitting the history, you're hitting all the academia for me. Yeah, I watch wrestling in a very weird way, very fucking weird way. But I just liked it a lot. And also, I just want to point out, I love the flow because thematically, a lot of things tied into the previous match. So for this instance, the win-loss record, because they pointed out again how Ospreay has Kyle Fletcher's number, which in the previous match it was Hangman and Jay White. And I'm moving the mic around a lot, and that pisses me off when I watch myself back, so I'll try not to do that. But I just love that. I just love that. And again, it's like who's in the previous match. Jay White was successful, so he continued the streak. But in this case, Fletcher won. So it was just a cool little parallel, and I'm not sure if that was like accidental. Like they were like, oh, we'll just put this one after because But I appreciate it. So yeah, and what is it to say? Like, it's Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. The actual wrestling was insane. What else did you expect? Like, what else did you expect? But I think my favourite spot was when Ospreay dodged the steel steps. He rolled over, very like Assassin's Creed, Dark Souls, barrel roll, man. He was parrying that shit, but dude, and then he came back for like an elevated Rana off the steel steps. It was so cool, man. And also, as I've said many times, like these high risk like head neck moves, Ospreay just has a fetish for doing outside the ring. Thankfully, this was on a pay-per-view, so like I'm a bit more forgiving for high risk maneuvers. And I'm not a high risk maneuver hater, but it's just hard to watch. And what I'm referring to is the sheer drop brain buster to the outside of the ring. I wrote bro moment. And this match was the selling of Ospreay's shoulders. He's already talked about his fingers. His nerves are damaged. He can't even. We've got to bring bloody son into it. I'm like, I can't help my son. Can't help my son with his homework. I'm child free, so I don't really care, mate. But good for you, I guess. The tombstone pile driver on Kyle to the outside of the ring. I wrote tit for tat. This is again when I started really thinking deeply about tit for tat. What does that even mean? But yeah, it was tit for tat. It was, and the thing about this match as well. So what this match was at its core was like both of them, because it's protege versus mentor, the prototype Kyle Fletcher. It's my notebook just fell. It's they're equally matched. No one can gain an advantage because they know each other too well. They can just reverse it. They no one's more than one move ahead. It's stalemate. It's chess stalemate. Oh yeah, baby, we're bringing back the chess. But yeah, the thing was, someone needed to dig deeper into their arsenal. Someone needed to get real evil up in this bitch. So yeah, we also had the pile driver onto the steel steps, off the ring apron to Ospreay. But that's what's needed. That was what was needed. That's what I mean. We needed to get evil up in this bitch. I think like Callis pointed that out as well. Like it's again, it's the Tiger Driver 97 dilemma of, and this is continued throughout all of the matches. I feel like it's the faces, they need to confront their own, with Daniel Garcia, with Orange Cassidy, they need to confront their own moral compass, because yeah, no one wants to hurt other people. We want to keep our moral fibre intact, but when we're facing such evil or I guess like in this case, it's just someone of such a high caliber, or when we're confronted with such a strong opponent, we have to dig deep into our arsenal and we have to be prepared to Jack Perry sacrifice parts of ourselves in order to win, but to what cost? Because if you do that, then you're not a face anymore and you're not righteous. And how do you walk that line of morality? Tasty shit, tasty shit. Did somebody say just eat ding dong? Ding da ding 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 dong. Anyway, the brainbuster on the turnbuckle uh was what sealed the deal. Fletcher won. Callis walked in with the crown. Davis comes down to check if Ospreay is okay. This is not a united empire. This is a divided empire. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that they let Fletcher win because again, I was like, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but me and Lucy both agreed, like, you know, it kind of has to at the same time to add to the legitimacy of the Callis family, to add to the legitimacy of Fletcher, and like, well, it's like the Jay White Hangman thing. It's like someone's had someone's win loss so many times. It's only a matter of time before the other person picks up a victory. Because yeah, really enjoyed this match. Really enjoyed Ospreay's different, like having to go a bit darker, but he wasn't able to fully do it. The presentation, the wrestling, obviously, the maneuvers, the finish. It's really cool. Really cool shit. Next up, we had Mia Shirakawa and Mariah with the busted eye. Like, oh, girl, that did not look nice. But champagne celebration, which we weren't sure was on Rampage or not, but turns out no, it is on the pay-per-view. Mariah calls, this is like a minor detail, which this whole thing, like, you could really read it in like a homoerotic way, a gay way, if you wanted to. Like, it's giving golden lovers, like, it's like, this is the real meaning. But, you know, if you're just like a casual het fan, like, you can just appreciate it for what it is. But if you want to dig deep into the lore, you can. Because I was digging deep and I liked the way that Mina Shirakawa called Mariah her love, the love of her life. But Mariah subtly is like, my friend, my dear friend. Oh, she put her in the friend zone, girl. Put her in the friend zone. But yeah, they're celebrating. They're like, oh my God. Mina's like, I love my friend. They do a love shot of champagne. And then they begin a little dance. And just as Mina's back's turned, Mariah sets up with the bottle. But Mina turns around and instinctually kicks the bottle, which shatters it. That was really cool. Mariah spits in her face again instinctively. And Mina, it's like, speared her off the ramp and they both went through a table. But like I said, it's very instinctive. It was very heat of the moment, even though obviously it's not, like, it's all planned, but it didn't feel like that. It felt very, very chaotic in the best way possible. And Mina bloody at the mouth as she gorges on the unconscious body of Mariah. And it's, you know, you wouldn't think they'd be able to strike gold again. I mean, nothing's going to top the turn on Toni Storm just for the pure shock factor of it. But I mean, the visceral image of the heel going to the head and this, like, the blood smearing over the body of her ex-lover now. I don't know. They're very... Mariah's segments have been very good at that visual element. And I mean, it's just... While it would have been nice to see them, it's very enjoyable to see them together as a duo. I think I like Mariah, and as Mariah and all of us, we're just ready to see some forward movement in the women's title scene. So yeah, and this leaves grounds to them having an intense feud, an intense emotional match in the future for sure. So after this, we had Jack Perry versus Daniel Garcia, which this is the other thing that I just didn't really like. But again, I didn't hate as much as, like, I hated the MJF thing, which I didn't realize I hated that much till I started talking about it. But this is just, it's not like a massive complaint. It's just, I just found it a bit weird, and I think it's more a subjective thing because I think a lot of people won't have had a problem with this. So I can recognize my own biases and my own stupid way of watching wrestling sometimes. So to start with, right, let's just get one thing straight. Garcia, within recent memory, which is kind of the issue with the whole Cole thing, is like he's presented as this clean cut, clear babyface, right? When he's obviously not. Garcia and Matt Menard, right? They strapped Jack Perry to the scapegoat bus. Sorry, sometimes I just get like the letters in the wrong way because I'm thinking and talking too fast. But to the scapegoat bus, and then they like abducted him. And granted, it was a bit of a shit. It was a bit of a shit hostage situation because they didn't do out to him really. They just smashed up his car. But either way you look at it, like these lads are the wrong uns in this situation. Like, is Jack Perry an angel? No, he's not. But at the same time, I just don't think that Garcia is as innocent as he was portrayed to be, especially since the start, crap me up because I had this montage of like these childhood home videos. His mum's doing a voiceover warning him about, he's like, you gotta do what's best for you. Like, don't be a people pleaser. So real, Miss Garcia. But it was just like, your son's just committed a crime. Like, he abducted someone. Like, what you on about? Do what's best for him. Like, what you on about, love? Uh, but yeah, Jack Perry at the start of the match, he's doing his typical thing. He's being cowardly, but he's also avoiding blows. He's playing head games. He's not giving Garcia or the crowd the satisfaction that they want. And yeah, this was also following a similar theme. Like I said, matches sort of thematically loosely interlinking. In that this match again was all about who's willing to go that extra step. Like, yeah, we can go tit for tat, but like, who's willing to take it a bit further? And if you're a betting man, your bets would probably be on Jack Perry. But obviously, that's not what happened. But that's kind of like the similar vibe it was giving me. The great bit of when Jack Perry launched Daniel Garcia through the timekeeper table, throwing the trash on him, drinking Com's water and throwing at him, complete disregard, disrespect. Daniel Garcia tying Jack Perry to the rope with his hair, the drop kick, I like that. That was innovative, that was fun. And they finished this match because like there wasn't much to it really other than this bit, which was Jack Perry grabs the belt, he brings it in as though he's going to attack Daniel Garcia for a DQ. He then throws it at him and does like his sacrificial crucifixion pose. Daniel Garcia goes and like he's like baiting like, oh, will I attack him or not? And he's obviously not going to, but he gives it to the ref because, you know, he's a good boy like that. And with the distraction, Jack Perry was able to low blow with the knee strike Daniel Garcia for a 2 count. And I also wrote, I swear in every match Jack Perry gets chopped to fuck. Like, I know there's like signature offense that people give out, but I feel like Jack Perry has signature offense that he receives. And I swear, like, every match is just him like getting chopped to fuck. And then we had the figure of four from Daniel Garcia to Jack Perry, and he dragged him back and locked it in deep to the point where he was just bending mad over completely 180, and he tapped. And Daniel, you can tell it's been a long day. I don't understand why I do this, or why I just suddenly lose the ability to talk. It's mainly when I'm alone. And you know what as well, like, not like poor me, because I really want to do this and I love doing this, but I just want to point out that reviewing a pay-per-view is really intimidating, and I don't know if I've ever done it before. I know obviously we do like Dynamites before, but I don't think I've ever reviewed a pay-per-view alone. I might be wrong though, but it's really intimidating because one, a lot more people like watch it than our usual stuff, so it's like outside opinions, which is always like daunting because I feel like on this channel or this like podcast we have like a small circle of people. Not that I don't want new people to join or anything, but it's just scary. It's just scary. Like, sometimes there's like crazy psycho Fed fanboys coming for me and my teeth. But Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's just weird, isn't it? It's just like weird, like, oh my God, I'm being perceived. I don't like it. And also there's so much to cover and I don't ever want to like miss something out. And people think that I don't know what I'm on about when I do know what I'm on about. Like, I chat a lot of shit, but like I do know what I'm on about. But I think that's like the thing, like when we first started the podcast is like I need to get everything in. I need to say every move and every wrestler and I need to like look really legit. But now I just like let it flow. Like now I'm just letting it flow because I just feel like that's better. But maybe not. I feel like if you have ADHD, this is like the podcast for you. If not, you probably can't stand me. Anyways, Cassia, he walks out with the I was gonna say he walked out with the ADHD flag. There should be an ADHD flag. There should be an autism flag. But anyway, Cassia walks out with the AW flag on his back, which was super symbolic and I liked. I mean, I think he just got it from a fan in the crowd, but yeah, like that was a pretty cool moment, but I didn't like this. Like I did like objectively, I think it's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over. I'm not going to rank this pay per view down. It's not going to get a minor from me, like because of this. But I just don't think this was the time for Daniel Garcia to win the belt. I feel like the belt is so entwined with Jack Perry, and my concern is if we haven't set something up outside of this for Jack, where is he going to go next? Because the title seems really crowded, and by all the interweaving storylines at the end of the show, it's clear that a lot of people have direction. It's very convoluted, but it's a contained convolution. And I'm just, yeah, I don't know whether it's like 50-50 and he gets like a rematch and tries to go against him, or whether we're going to do something with Okada, or he's just going to disappear like the Bucks disappeared and snake off, and that's a part of it. But I wouldn't know. It's not that I don't want Daniel Garcia to win this. Because the other thing that I thought about it, and I was like, well, they kind of do need to give it Daniel Garcia, because the whole issue with Daniel Garcia in the past is they've they've gone hot and cold with him. And he did the MJF program and he came out really hot from that. And then he's gone into this, and it's like, I guess like that would have cut off his momentum massively. And that's been the issue with Daniel Garcia. And so he's never been able to break into like a title, or I guess now like with the TNT, he's like upper. But I don't think TNT's upper mid card. TNT's just mid card in it, but he's not lower mid card. Like he's definitely rising up the ranks, and that is important to put stock into your new guys. Even though like Daniel Garcia and Jack Perry have been around for a long time, but they're like both new, like not new, younger's what I mean, younger guys. Like you need to put stock in them, and like I said, that Hong Kong booking was really damaging. But if it was me, I would have done this and then done an even more intense match and have Daniel Garcia win it then. Uh, World's End next month, maybe. But I don't know, like then I thought about it and I was like, I'm not entirely mad at it. I liked the symbolism, him walking out, and this was a very heel dominated pay-per-view. And I think something that they tried to weave in throughout was it was almost like this pay-per-view was almost like a grey sky, right? With glimpses of sun coming out every now and again. You know those days where like the weather's shit, but then the sun comes out like every so often. That's what this felt like. It's like that glimmer of hope and that glimmer of like reminder. And it's not a battle, it's a war. And it's going to take a few pay-per-views to win that war. And the good guys did get a few wins. They got a few licks in, but overall they weren't victorious. So do you understand it? Like I say, I don't totally hate it. I'm not ranting about this or out, but it was just a bit weird. And like the victory, I get it, like he dug deep, and again like he went a bit he went a bit more intense about losing himself, which as I said before, it's like that walk of morality. But I just I just don't know if this was the time. I think I would have let it cook a bit more. But that's just me. I feel like maybe I'm just being a bit subject. This is like a subjective opinion, maybe, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think people have really talked about this that much. From what I haven't properly been online. I haven't properly like I say, I've just kind of seen bits and pieces because I've been trying to avoid spoilers. Normally, I watch it live and I soak in what everyone's saying. So I don't know. I don't know what the consensus is, but I feel like if I had to predict, the consensus would be because a lot of people hate Jack Perry, and not even ironically, like they just straight up do not like him, like go away heat. So I feel like people would be glad. But I don't know. Anyway, Next up, another match. Takeshita versus Ricochet. So yeah, like I said, just a lot of wrestling, a lot of talking, a lot to talk about, which means there was a lot that I watched, a lot of fatigue, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. Just it was just a lot. Again, I wrote in my notes, the talent is so deep, there's no room to breathe on this card. No one can say AEW doesn't have stars. No one can say AEW doesn't have stories. Just such invalid criticism, honestly. I loved this. I loved, to me, this match, what made this match was I loved Takeshita, obviously, and I loved the way he carried himself, his aura, his confidence. And the start was so funny because he was almost like getting insulted or triggered by the fact that Ricochet was trying to fight him. He was like, really? You think you can do that? Try me, bitch. So that was pretty funny, is his reactions. Um, yeah, the backdrop of him on the edge of the barricade, that was pretty nasty. The confidence is like an executioner type vibe. Like, he's here, this is your funeral, honey. Ricochet trying to come back throughout the midway through the match, but still feeling the effects of his lower back, which was worked over. Takeshita always in place, always, like, yeah, Ricochet got a few licks in, but he had a game plan and he stuck to it. And commentary pointed out how that's how he was able to win. He targeted that lower back. He was confident. He was focused. Great night for the Callis family. But there was a moment where there was a bit of sweat where Callis threw down the headset and he went to go hype up him, amped him up. Concern and drama, I wrote down, but like we all knew Takeshita was winning. We all knew he was winning, but I appreciate that. I just appreciate a bit of theatrics, I suppose, but we knew. We knew. He could have stayed seated, Don, it's alright. And this match was concluded with the knee between the shoulders to Ricochet and the suplex off the top rope. It was fun. It was nice. And it was like just cementing that, yeah, this is your champion, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why. Not that Ricochet came off bad at all. He had a great showing, and I don't know whether it's concluding their rivalry or finishing it, or whether it's just a continuation, but yeah, good stuff. I don't really have that many notes on that one. It's pretty straightforward. Next up, we had Swerve versus Lashley. This is just before the main event. JR came down for comms. Lashley on Swerve. Comms call it a wake-up call, which I think, like me and Lucy were saying, like, is he ready for this? Like, is he ready for Bobby Lashley? Swerve not getting a chance to get a lick in. Lashley, the Holt in the pin to taunt the crowd, doing the Hulk Hogan cup, and Swerve, and it's like the cockiness, the aura. Oh, the loose link in, the aura of these two strong, confident men. I don't fucking know. The elevated one-handed suplex. This was just a showcase of how good Lashley is, just in case you didn't know, or just in case you forgot. Then we had Shelton Benjamin tripping Swerve up. This was his second interruption, and this time it was court interference even, and he was escorted out. Using the steps to curb stomp Lashley through the Spanish announce desk. This was also a very gifable, iconic, viral part of the night. I feel like it looked great. Yeah, house call, another Swerve stomp with a very aggressive kick out. He sent Swerve flying. And then on the outside, MVP and Swerve face off. MVP moves. He's like, I want none of that heat. Lashley launches him through the barricade with a spear. Oh, sorry. First of all, he launched him overhead and sent him flying. Then he speared him through the barricade. Let me just clarify that. It was great. I think it's like the size of Lashley. He's just able to accomplish like these things because sometimes it's a bit of like a gamble because of the size. I think it's like the size. So unless people are hitting those tables right, sometimes the spots don't work out entirely, which it to me don't really bother me. Like to me, I'm just as happy to see someone bounce off a table if it looks good as I am to see him go through it. Sometimes it looks even worse when they bounce off it, but you want the spot to go out, you want it to go. So it's pretty cool that those ended up looking as spectacularly as they did. We had the spear when he was back into the ring and the hurt lock full Nelson, which me and Lucy kept pointing out that is definitely going to be significant. to this match, and it was Swerve passed out. Nana was forced into the ring, and he was also on the receiving end of the hurt lock. And I wrote, will Swerve have a change of heart now? Will he have second thoughts? Because I think it was predictable, this, but in a good way. It was predictable, not in like a boring, uninspired way. It was predictable in the way of like, this is what should happen. And as I say, you need to make the Hurt Syndicate look strong. You need to make them look like, well, if they're handing out these golden ticket business cards, what's the point of joining them if they're not winning, especially to start with? And I think Swerve underestimating Lashley or not being fully prepared. He's been the man for so long, and even his loss to Danielson, it was gracious. It was it was a healthy competition, but this is like a full on fucking rival coming at you. Cleopatra coming at you. But yeah, I don't know, like, will he have a change of heart? Like, where do we go for this? I could definitely see us maybe going to a violent match step in the future. Some kind of custody match, custody of Prince Nana, custody of Swerve, I don't know. Prince Nana on a pole match, fucking hell. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think it was just perfect. I think it was just perfectly done. It showed Lashley as a threat. It showed how good he is. Swerve looked good, but at the end of the day, once that hurt lock comes out, baby, you're done for. And it looks very, very effective. Like, yeah. And also there was a part that I really liked where it was very simple. Lashley just had Swerve in a headlock, but the way his eyes were almost like bulging out, and he was like selling it like so well. It looked great. I'm really excited to see where this goes because it's not entirely predictable, but I'm here for it. Right. Take a breath, guys. Take a breath, because I'm gonna take a swig of my monster. I just failed. Raise the can up to the memories of Orange Cassidy. Right, main event time, guys. It's like I've calmed myself down with talking for all this just to rally myself back up. Love that for me. Right, deep breaths. Right, so this was the main event: Orange Cassidy versus Moxley. And interestingly, Moxley's only accompanied by Marina, which, yeah, I made that of note. Thought it was of note. So the match begins because Justin Roberts can't even finish his introduction. He's doing his John Mark, but he can't even get to the X because Orange Cassidy's instantly on Moxley. We've got the orange punches, we've got the turp out of the ring. We're on the announce desk, raining fists, and he even bites Mox out of the gate. Cassidy knows what he has to do. He's not just a dumb, valiant babyface. Like I said, it's this battle of if you're met with evil, Metallica, fight fire with fire. Like you gotta like meet them there. And Orange Cassidy, he understands the assignment, hun. Like, he understands that he can't just rock up and stick his hands in his pockets. Like, he's got to pull his finger out. He's got to hustle a bit. So, and again, it was really exciting. Like, just starting a match like that. Like, oh my god, like, we're off to the races. We're off. Let's go. Just really great. But Mox regaining control, he thrives off violence, doesn't he, Moxley? And he's the brawling into the crowd. And again, I felt really, really emotional during this. Like, it just really got to me because it's about so much more than a title. It's good versus evil. Which is like so, like, not to be weird about wrestling, but like it's so like potent and so poignant to the world at large. I feel like I always say like wrestling's like a microcosm of pop culture, political culture. It's so interesting to me, that like connection to like the mainstream. Hashtag is wrestling mainstream. We did a themed episode on it. But I just love it. And also, I don't know, just like the emotional connection that I have to AEW. Been a fan since like day one and even before that, because all this begins for me with the Elite. All this begins with my favourite wrestler, Kenny, and what that brought. Like, I wouldn't be the wrestling fan that I am if it wasn't for like 2016, 2017, New Japan. Like, I just would not be that I would not be here. I wouldn't have a podcast called the 2 Sweet Podcast. I wouldn't be here. The Elite, watching them rise, like creating AEW, and just the plight of an AEW fan, and this is going to be kind of like memeable, like restoring the feeling. AEW fans like they're so cheesy, like no. But it genuinely, like I don't give a fuck. I give a fuck. To be cringe is to be free. Okay, and baby, I'm free. But like it just. It's like that constant plight of like being the underdog wrestling company, and we've always been the underdog wrestling company. And WWE, and not this is not an attack on WWE fans because it's just not like we're like two different football teams. Okay, that's what it feels like these days. Of course, you can be a fan of both, but I think everyone deep down has their favorite and their preferred one, and I think that's just the way it's kind of ran because they're so radically different. You're going to favor one over the other, right? But there's a certain subsection of fans that think that because AEW one time was doing well and WWE was subjectively way worse in terms of content and quality than AEW is now. You can't even compare the two in terms of wrestling and storyline quality during the Vince Renaissance when he came back. Like, I'm sorry, you just can't. But because AEW fans were infused during that time period that they can like dunk on AEW now, but it's just been so much more relentless. Like people have rewritten the narrative, and this isn't me like fed badding and it just pisses me off because I just know how people read things because they don't have any fucking nuance. But like she's fed badding, like yeah, I'm really not. I'm just like explaining what it's been like to be a fan, and it's like that constant plight and that constant attacking on AEW, which is so real. And you can say it's not, but even like the creation of bots, like there's so much negativity, there's so much negative feedback loops, and people just saying stupid rhetoric if things like fake is basically fake news, man. Like people just like even last week we were talking about the Rizzler and the Costco guys, and people being like on the Instagram, all the top comments being like people being like, oh, this is why this is WCW 2000 vibes TNA because like this is the best AW has. This is the main storyline. I know it's not the fucking main storyline. You don't even watch it, so what are you even on about? Oh, it makes me so mad. But it's like all this like rhetoric, all this like negativity, but there's so many ways you can read it, like you can read it as like the frustration of being an AEW fan, and I'm not saying AEW doesn't have its faults. If you think I don't think AEW has its faults, you've never listened to an episode of this podcast. But it's like, and yeah, I am defensive right now. I am defensive, and I'm defensive because I care, and I fucking love this promotion with all my heart. I really do, and I'm not ever gonna like blindly sit here and say it's great or say it's bad or whatever. And I don't know. I feel like what I'm saying, I feel like it might get lost in translation, and it's quite annoying that I don't have another person to like back up what I'm saying right now and kind of explain it, because Lucy's very good at like translating what I'm saying and making it make sense. Because yeah, but it's like it's like that frustration and how much like it means. And then like I'm watching these people like day oneers of this thing that I really believe in, and then like the world at large. And good versus evil, and I'm not saying like WWE is evil and AEW is good. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's really not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying like online rhetoric, which maybe just the solution is just log off. But I'm part of the IWC. Like I live in my mum's basement. Like come on, I'm constantly online, constantly dwelling. But it's just like all these emotions, all these things, and I don't know. I don't know. It just really, and like the way it was played up, it just, and also like there's so many different things that why like emotions it brought out of me. It's like that's just one small subsection, right? Like AEW is the underdog, and how much AEW means to me as a fan, and how much like the wrestlers before AEW to now, like how the impact they've had on me and like me as a fan. But then also it's like the world at large, and just the emotions. I sound crazy, but the emotions we have to live with, like at the world at large, right? And then like you watch this microcosm of good versus evil, and it's really like simplified. And then also this emotion that I have because it's the dichotomy of AEW. AEW is split into two. AEW used to be right, really unified, and it used to be like the locker room, like we're all friends and it's just indie buddies, like, and yeah, it was like a super indies, and it was like Cornette's fucking worst nightmare, but like it was the vibe at the time. It was Coachella, baby. It was Coachella 2016. It was Tumblr 2014. It was an era, girl. Like you had to be there. But like And then AW got big and it became a mainstream thing, and the booking went from the elite to Tony Khan, right? And it changed, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all, really. It wouldn't be where it's at. We wouldn't be having 80,000 in Wembley the year before last if it hadn't have, right? But when you did that, and then you bring in other people and all the shit that went on with bringing in other people, if you know what I'm saying, and this isn't me saying Punk badding either, but like all that shit that went down, and Cody leaving, and his reasons for doing so, and this splitting, this division within AEW, which needed to happen because it needed to change to grow, and that's part of growth, right? Like nothing can stay the same forever, as much as some people seem to think that will be the solution. Like, why can't AEW bring back the win-loss record? Like, girl, that's not going to fix things. But I don't know if I'm making sense. But it's this splitting of souls. It's a dichotomy, and that's represented by Mox and the Death Riders and the heels versus the faces, and this restoring the feeling. And I don't understand this other criticism of people being like, AEW storyline is we need to save AEW. How is that like a good storyline? It's like, because it's fucking real, dude. It's real. And that's why it's good. And it's tied with genuine emotion, genuine emotional connection to the wrestlers, to the company, to the stories. Like, that's why. That's why. And it brings out such an emotion in me, the fact that the bell, which represents so much, I don't even get to see the bell like as a fan anymore. I don't get to see it. It's locked away. The fact that the books, the corporate side have abandoned me, like that they've just fucked off to fucking Hawaii, like bro, like it's all these things. And I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I just rambled there, but I like a point. But I hope someone can find the point. I make points, but sometimes you gotta find them. But I hope that like makes any kind of sense. And it's like OC being like a representative and a mascot of all the good times and all the good feelings, and he's still there. Like, there's been all this shit and all this change from the super indies to the bullshit to now to all the negative spiel online to the world, but like OC's just always been OC. Like, he's never changed. Like, yeah, he's kind of, he's in a bit of emo era now, but he's always been the same and and I think that's why it like makes me a bit emotional. I don't know. Maybe I need to talk to my therapist, but I just don't have a therapist because I can't fucking afford it. Thank you, NHS. Right, anyway, I'm sorry, it's getting late now. We need to focus, 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 focus. Right. So anyway, we've gone into this. We've kind of unpacked that kind of barely, vaguely, but yeah. So then we had the paradigm shift on the steps. Mox biting into the wounds of Orange Cassidy, and it's like, yeah, you can rain your fists down, you can come out of the gate and attack me, but I'm John Moxley. I'm John fucking Moxley. Like, I can go a hell of a lot more darker, and I fucking love it. I thrive off it. With the Gotch style pile driver with the quickest kick out. Uh, yeah, and then he put Cassidy on the commentary desk and he was biting his fingers, blood everywhere. God, the colour that Cassidy got, and it was so visceral, like the bleeding on the canvas, on the mat, the bleeding on Mox, like smeared on him at one point. He had blood on his hands and he high-fived Marina. She was absolutely disgusted. She was like, get the shit off me. But yeah, it was a great visual, and it really, really elevated the match. I wrote, it looks like a fight between animals. Like, this did not feel like wrestling. This felt like something so much more, so much more. Um, I wrote, it's like Mox pushing the boundaries as much as possible, because what he was doing, like, it wasn't DQ worthy. Obviously, he was still wrestling within the rules of a vanilla wrestling match. Technically, he didn't get DQ'd, but he was absolutely murdering this man. And yeah, yeah, it was great. I liked the bit where Mox was sort of booting Orange Cassidy and he was sort of on his knees and he just kept walking towards him. And then later on, Mox was walking towards the forearms of Cassidy before he struck him down. It was like that nice that nice parallel of both of them. Both of them are willing to go to the ends of the earth and continue fighting and be defiant in what they believe in because they're so they believe it. They believe what they're doing. They really believe in it, you know. The visceral graphic of both of them digging their nails into each other. That's what I mean. Like they're both willing to go toe to toe. It was epic. It was like I don't watch MCU or out like that, but it was that kind of vibe, that finishing. I mean, I don't know, I probably relate to anime. It's like that anime epic fight. And the fight is so violent because, like I said, they're fighting for AEW, they're fighting for good versus evil. It's more than the title, it's so much more. And the desperation of Cassidy because, God, the pressure, the future of AEW on his back. I mean, can you imagine? I love the diving DDT as well. They did that was fantastic. The exchanging of slaps to then forearms, and I wrote Cassidy's willing to meet Mox, but can he sustain this? Because it never felt like it. It felt like yes, Cassidy was meeting Mox where he needed to meet him, but he he was desperate and there was desperation and you could tell like his stamina bar, his health bar is depleting. Meanwhile, Mox is just almost getting stronger off of this because this is where Mox thrives. With the hands in the pocket spot, we had the kicks and dodging the right hand of Mox for the consecutive orange punches. We had the Casadora, the kip up to the orange punch, and then the beach break. So it's really cool sequence of Cassidy's offense. And again, like commentary also put over, this is like a glimmer of hope. Like I say, it's like that sunshine sort of peeking through the clouds, but you know deep down, it's like it's not gonna last. The writing's on the wall, as it were. But even so, maybe you could have won it at this point if it wasn't for Claudio and Pat coming down to ringside and they're climbing up like dogs, like a pack of hounds, and we've got the conglomeration coming down. Even though Cassidy requested him not to, they chose to intervene. The ref was distracted and Marina was about to use the briefcase, but Willow comes down, which, oh my god, me and Lucy have criticised so much how Marina Shafir hasn't had any involvement in the women's division, and the women's division always needs more. It's gotten a lot stronger, but it always needs more, and it would really benefit from her. She's been built up so much, like, why is she not being used? And Lucy was literally like, well, Willow's the obvious foil to her, like, she's would fight for good. And this is a great way of interweaving them because Willow's part of the conglomeration. She's very close to Cassidy, so of course she's going to come down. And finally, we got that moment. So I'm so happy about that. And the pop was huge for Willow. Loved that. And Orange used the case for the nearest of near falls. It really, but you just knew, like deep down, it wasn't going to happen. But the hope, the hope. I wrote down again. I'm emotional. Mox was barely able to stand. The ref is almost having to help him as he's like clinging to the rope. And then what was the difference maker was a hooded figure, which turned out to be Wheeler Yuta using a Psycho knee, and Mox able to capitalise on it for the win. So again, Mox won through the help, the assistance of the Death Riders. They're formidable, and they Cassidy needed the conglomeration. It's just a shame that Yuta came out because otherwise he would have been able to pick up the victory. But it's that need of, it's not just one man who can take down the Death Riders. They are a team. We need a team. We need an army is what we need. So yeah, Mox grabbed OC and him and Yuta. Well, it was sold that Cassidy was out of breath, so he's like gasping for breath, and they pour these chemicals down his throat. And this is the point where shit starts getting absolutely crazy. So Hangman comes down and he uses a chair to strike Yuta, and he faces off with Mox. They've got a lot of history over the title, and yeah, just a lot of history there. At first, it was like pretty unsure because Hangman's very unhinged. He's just struck down um, a high standing person, Christopher Daniels, in AEW. Very unpredictable, but his alliances were not with Mox. They were not with Team AEW. They were for his own selfish intentions. He's kind of true neutral, I guess, in like D&D terms, but kind of not. 'Cause he's also like chaotic and evil, but in this case, like politically as it stands with AEW, he is neutral and he's just out for his own gain. Because at this point, Christian comes down and delivers the kill switch, and Hangman hands him the contract that Christian won at All In during the ladder match, but he hesitates to hand it to him. It's that level of distrust, but they have formed an alliance, and it seems that if Christian wins the title, he'll give Hangman the first shot at it. So that seems to be sort of where we're going with that. And that's all well and good, but before he can sign it, because he needs to sign it before he can get the pin in, Jay White comes down and delivers the Blade Runner, which is crazy. But him and Christian have had beef for a very, very, very long time. Also, Hangman, you know, it's like they're one connection away out there. They've got beef as well. And yeah, yeah, it's like opportunistic, which is part of Jay White's character, and the C2 Mox pinned him. So he's also got beef. He's got beef for everyone basically. But this was so delightful as a huge Jay White fan who's been wanting him to go to the fucking top for ages and been like, it's so convoluted. How are they going to fit him in? But they did. And what a much better end to full give him than last year, which we don't speak about because it's very, very, very traumatizing. But Claudio and Pac come in at this point and they begin to beat down on Jay White, but they then go to flee with Mox and Marina, who have left the ring. And Jay White is the last in the ring and he hobbles to the back, which was like a really cool, yeah, really cool place, like a significance on him, because even though later on we saw Darby, it was like, I don't know. I don't know. I just liked it. I liked how it was kind of spotlight finished on him, sort of. In terms of in the arena, the Death Riders flee to a car, but then another car crashes into their car, and they've got to commandeer another car. And it's Darby Allin who's then hysterically continuing to smash up the car, and he's like, "Come out, you fucking bastards! Like, where have you gone?" And yeah, that's how it concludes. So it was just an emotional main event, which was just epic, an epic battle between good versus evil. Then the finish, then all of like the interweaving connections, which they've been working on for so long, that we finally got to see some payoff. The way it was just non-stop, and it wasn't like a beatdown. It wasn't like this huge brawl. It was people being opportunistic, people taking their revenge, people having grudges, long-term storytelling, and yeah, just the finishing shot of Darby, who has been pinned as like the unlikely uh, savior, as it were, who is actually going to take the title off of Mox and be the one to bring it back. He's kind of like, I don't know, the face, I guess, of Team AW. I mean, yeah. As you can tell at the start, I was like, oh my God, I need to run. I need to grab my camera. I need to grab the mic and I need to begin talking about this now. But it's just like, how do you even like unpack that? Like, I don't even know. But that was just such a cool finish. I would never have like predicted that that was how they were going to go. I thought like, yeah, they're pouring the chemical down the mouth of OC, like it's going to be a massacre of OC, and then maybe Darby's going to intervene, but like Christian, but I thought, oh, maybe they're just going to wait until we've gotten all the Death Fire stuff out the way and the Christian stuff's going to play in later. But I think this was a really cool, and it was an ambitious way to finish the pay-per-view, but it paid off massively. I don't think it felt overbooked. I don't think it felt hokey. I think it was just absolutely perfect. And it wasn't as bleak as what I thought it was going to be. Like, with the conglomeration come down and stuff, and it was, yeah, it was heel heavy in terms of victories, but the hope presided and it prevailed, and that's all we need is the hope. To be cheesy, all we need is the hope, and we can we're gonna be okay. I don't know, but yeah, I just, and as a Jay White fan, you know, as a big Jay White fan, don't know if I mentioned that. Like, I'm just so ecstatic to see the man, prevailing, to see the man getting into that title scene. Yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally and physically exhausted having finished the pay-per-view and the review. But yeah, this is what I mean. It's tough because, like, for rating, where'd you go with it? Because I feel like my instinct is like 10 out of 10, but then I feel like there was a few nitpicky things, so I'm going to go for a 9.5 because every match was fantastic. There wasn't, in terms of wrestling quality or like match style, anything that was bad. I just didn't like the MJF stuff because it felt really uninspired, and that's why I didn't like it. But it's still not terrible, it's just like predictable. And I think, like, with MJF, I just have such high expectations as we all have grown to develop. So it's just like a bit shit when, he's stuck in this storyline. But as I said before, me as a wrestling fan, me as a media consumer, me in general, like, if the main thing slaps, then that, like, really does a number. But also the fact that even the undercard to the main event was fantastic, and it was just so much wrestling. Like, I'm exhausted, but that's what you want to be. You want to be exhausted by good wrestling. Like, what a complaint to have. I'm so tired. I had to watch so much good wrestling, and I had to, like, just watch so many people do cool moves and cool storylines. Wah, 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 wah. Like, what a fucking complaint, you know? But I'm just, yeah. I think this pay-per-view is so cool because it set out some really clear storylines and ways forward, and everyone has something to do for the most part. But also there's a lot of uncertainty, but the uncertainty is cool. Like, with the whole title scene at the minute and the alliances, the fraught alliances, Hangman and Christian, the egos, the grudges, the vendettas that people have, and I think at the end of this pay-per-view it was like Cassidy and those around him who were fighting for good, like Garcia, Darby, Willow, Conglomeration, all those are realizing that we need to band together to take down the Death Riders. And I don't know whether it feels like quite short if the Death Riders come to an end next month, because it's really gold, and I kind of don't want the Death Riders to end, but at the same time, like, I do want the catharsis of seeing the belt again. I think, like, honestly, I'm so emotional about this whole storyline, and I've tried to, like, analyze why that might be, like, all my emotions at the moment. But I feel like genuinely whoever gets the belt, whether that is Darby, and, like, he finally produces it, I feel like that's going to be such a huge, huge moment. But yeah, I mean, World's End, like, shit ends at World's End. So I'm like, is that going to be what happens next month? But then at the same time, I also don't want this storyline to end because it's so fucking brilliant. But yeah, what a finish to a pay-per-view. And the depth of talent in this pay-per-view, I felt like we're watching a future SummerSlam 2002. Like, something where you throw on in the future and you think, we didn't know back then how fucking good we had it. And you list off those names, and those names are big now: Swerve Strickland, Takeshita, Ospreay, Fletcher, Monet, Moxley, OC. Like, you'll list them off now and they're big, but I think we don't realise the gravitas of what we are watching right now, and just how blessed we are in 10, 15 years, not even that for some of them, when these people retire or their bodies can't go to the same length, and when we have the new crop of talent rise and we look back on this time period, I think this pay-per-view will be a standout for AEW as to just how good we had it. And I appreciate every second. And like I say, my brain's just in dopamine overload. Like, oh my God, I can't even. I just can't even. So that'll do it. I can breathe now. But I hope you enjoyed. And I did the best that I could. But we'll be back next week doing the Thursday night review of the Wednesday night Dynamite. It'll be fun to see the fallout. It'll be fun to have Lucy as well and hear her reactions from the pay-per-view and the fallout. I'm sure I can't wait to hear like what she's got to say. I think she'll really have enjoyed the Mercedes versus Stat match and the fallout of this main event. I think she'll really enjoy that. So I'm excited to see what she has to say. But yeah, what was your rating? What were your thoughts? Like, just how mad was that finish? And yeah, that's going to do it. And we'll be back next week for more. I feel like I've had a fucking rut. I feel like I felt every emotion in the past over an hour bloody long it is that I've been filming this. God, pray for the fucking renderer today. Jesus Christ, it's going to take a while to render this. But I feel like I'm exhausted, so bye.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, you rock, and good night, bang!
I wish you died in the womb!